as I can.
This is a copy of the promissory note resolution with all the attachments. I don't know if you guys,
I wasn't here last month. I didn't sign that. I have no obligation.
Yes, you do. I voted for you, Everett. You told me I could.
twice.
Yeah. Said, I for me and I for Everett.
Now, we have each copy here.
And Debbie said I could do it.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
And so did Melanie.
I was trying to get Melanie in trouble all the time.
All of the attachments, yes, if you want to see it or not. I mean,
Resolution for,
this is for the promissory,
Oh, okay.
promissory notes, but I have copies. Fred's both here, so
Yeah.
bring them up and.
Did anybody hear from Bernadette? I have neither.
Promissory note
She usually
resolution got in
calls
your
me
packet.
or,
Oh.
No, this one's got all those attachments. I didn't know.
look at them. A lot of reading here.
are we ready then? We call this meeting of the Waushara County Board of Supervisors order, and the first thing is to swear in Fred Gallerup back on the county board. We need a motion first from
I
the
will
board.
move. I'll
We
second.
have a second from Larry. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Melanie will swear you in.
I, Frederick E. Gellerup,
Having been appointed
having been appointed
to the office of District 9 County Supervisor,
to the office of District 9 County Supervisor,
swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God. That's it.
Welcome, Fred.
That's a good question, Fred. And leaping over the,
I'll give you a hand.
Okay, next we'll start with roll call.
Mrs. Krantz is absent. Mr. Tim?
Here.
Mr. Piaski?
Here.
Mr. Weddy?
Here.
Mr. Downey?
Here.
Mr. Eckstein?
Here.
Mrs. Kalata?
Here.
Mr. Weiss?
Here.
Mr. Gellerup?
Here.
Mr. Crawford?
Here.
Mr. Kirschner?
Here.
I will stand for silent prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time is public comment, but no one signed tonight, so we have no one here for that. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Donna, we have a second by Larry Tim. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Minutes of our prior meeting, how do you find?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the minutes as presented.
We got a second by Bill Downey. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They've been approved. There's no old business. We get into new business. Now we're going to have a presentation. Medical Assistance Statewide Transportation Manager update from Debbie Pamela, Director of the Department of Aging.
Hello.
Hi.
A couple months back, at the end of 2010, I came and talked to you guys about some proposed changes that would be taking place statewide with transportation. At that time, you approved a resolution opposing the change because the change was a statewide MA transportation system. So for people on medical assistance, all of their transportation would be arranged through the state rather than through the counties. That change has occurred or will be occurring on July 1st. From what we understand, there will be no turning back. So transportation, as we have known it in Waushara County, will change significantly in just a couple of weeks. So I thought it was a good time to come and tell you more about the changes and let you ask any questions. We do anticipate that there will be a lot of confusion for the first couple of weeks or even months. You as county board supervisors will likely hear about it. You'll get questions. You'll hear rumblings about transportation. So we want you to try to understand everything that is going on. And some of it right now is still unclear to us, and we're still trying to sort through all of it. But to the best of our ability, we'll tell you what we know now and let you ask any questions. So I'm going to have Nathaniel, who is our transportation coordinator, explain what's been going on. He was assigned the task of attending all of the meetings and sorting through all of the information and helping to formalize some recommendations. So, Nathaniel.
Thank you. All right. To start off, this was all decided back when Governor Doyle was in office. It was 2009. They snuck it in on his last budget that he approved. It sets up a statewide call center for anybody on medical assistance. They'll call that call center for all their medical rides. The state put out a bid for a company to run that call center. They went with a company called Logisticare. They're based out of Atlanta, Georgia. They will have a local office in Madison. The phone lines for that office opened last Friday, so it's already up and going now. The reason the state wanted to do this is they can get a higher reimbursement rate from the federal government for the transportation service. Right now, the state gets 50% reimbursement for the transportation service because it's billed to the federal government as an administrative fee. But if they go with a brokerage company that will collect all the data on the trips and everything, they can get 62%, or somewhere right around there, 60 something. So multiplied over a couple 100,000 people, they were going to make a little money that way. The company Logisticare has already worked in 40-some states, some whole states, some parts of states or metro areas. So that's kind of the background of it. The impact for Waushara County will be that there's right around 4,000 people on some sort of medical assistance in the county. So it's going to be a change for quite a few people. 300 or so of those people use the Department of Aging Transportation, and then a lot more of those people go through economic support. They drive themselves, they turn in a sheet for their mileage, and they get reimbursed that way. The change for these people, they're all going to have to call this call center in Madison. They're going to lose that person here in Wautoma that knows that when they say Dr. Chulsky, they mean Aurora Clinic. When they say Dr. Roberts, they mean the CHN Clinic. They are going to need the name, the address, the phone number for the clinic, the name of the doctor. There's actually, it's a 4-page script that the person answering the phone at Logisticare will go through with the person. And that'll be really challenging for a lot of the people that we work with. There's 2 groups of individuals on MA that will be excluded from the manager. It'll be individuals on the family care program, and that's run by Care Wisconsin in Waushara County. And then it'll be individuals in nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities. So the only one in Waushara County right now is Wild Rose Manor. The effects on our transportation system now, we still will be doing transportation. We'll still be transporting anyone over 60 that is not on medical assistance. We'll still be transporting the veterans. We'll be providing the non-medical trips for the people on medical assistance. Their grocery shopping, hair appointments, that sort of thing that we do with the minibuses. The statewide call center won't provide that sort of transportation. Our big job with the changes is going to be really helping the people understand what's going on. We're getting phone calls already, people saying, I just got this letter, what does this mean to me? Or, people calling and saying, we had one call today that says, I called there and I set up one ride to go to Cairo Plus, but I need the address for the clinic that I go to in Berlin. So we gave her the address and then she was able to call back. But it's going to be a lot of helping people understand and, getting them through the transition. There'll be an effect on the human services too. They won't be authorizing the trips anymore. That'll all be done through Logisticare, and they won't be able to send the bill for the mileage reimbursement anymore. The company Logisticare doesn't own vehicles and they don't employ drivers. What they do is they contract with local transportation providers. They also recruit their own volunteer drivers. So we're expecting to see some ads in the paper for their volunteer drivers sometime soon, but haven't seen anything yet. The Transportation Coordinating Committee and the Commission on Aging discussed the possibility of contracting with Logisticare before we were contacted with them. It took them until the second week of June to actually contact us, even though we're basically the only transportation provider in the county. Both the committees recommended that we don't contract with them right now, and the reasons being is the base contract for Logisticare has a lot of penalties in it if their standards aren't met, if you're late picking someone up, if you don't turn a report in within their 2-week period. It also has a lot of requirements for the vehicles, signs on the outsides of the vehicles, signs with their number on the inside of the vehicle, all sorts of different penalties. It looked like they were going to require signs on the drivers or on the vehicles of volunteer drivers, and drug testing for volunteer drivers every year, background checks every year. So those committees recommended not contracting. The state had also asked if we would be willing to give Logisticare the names of our volunteer drivers and their phone numbers so they could contact them or whatever. Both committees said, no, we don't want to do that. We've never asked the volunteer drivers if we could do something like that. So we had a meeting for the volunteer drivers instead and told them about the changes and told them if you want to contact Logisticare and be a driver for them, you're free to do that. You can drive for us too. Had their base volunteer driver contract and the phone number for him, and only one of them even asked for it, and he ended up not calling them after he read the contract. So They were all very thankful when we did have the meeting that we hadn't handed their numbers over. They weren't very interested at all. The committees did leave the door open that if there were changes made to the base contract, that we would look back and see if it was worth contracting with them. And since those committees have met, we have found out more information. Logisticare contacted us. They let us know that all the penalties would be waived for a governmental organization. They also came back with rates that are fairly close to our full cost. That was another one of the committee's recommendations, was that the county should, if we would contract with them, we needed to get our full cost for the trips so that the county wasn't subsidizing trips that Logisticare was supposed to be providing. But they've actually come back with rates that are not far off. So right now we're continuing to talk with them, and we'll see if we can reach some sort of agreement where we would get our full cost and all the penalties would be waived, and then we'll start with the transportation committee again. Even if we would get a contract in place, Logisticare is still going to need some other providers in the area because we don't provide certified medical vehicle service. They're going to need somebody to do that. Right now, we don't know of any other providers in the area that have wanted to contract with them. Share Industries said right off the bat they were not. I've talked to Keppens twice, and they still don't have anything firm. They were at least talking with Logisticare. The two groups excluded from the manager, Family Care, they contacted us. They contacted us before Logisticare. They're working on a contract for us. They thought it was just fine to pay the full cost of the trips. So that should be ready to go in the next week or so, and then we'll bring that before the committee. And then Wild Rose Manor, the nursing home, has expressed some interest in contracting because they don't have anyone either set up at the moment, but they haven't called us to set up a meeting or anything yet, so we're waiting to see how that goes. So basically, to sum it all up, is that all the people on medical assistance are going to have to call the call center in Madison, except for these two groups. The Family Care people will call the Department of Aging if we get the contract all set up, and Wild Rose Manor will set up their own transportation, maybe through us. The Department of Aging is going to try and assist all the people that call in with the transition, and then if we can get our terms met that the county's not losing money, then we'd contract with Logisticare and provide rides for them. And Debbie might say a little bit about the financial impact, I guess.
So ultimately, with the change over a period of time, the county should end up being able to save some money. But it's really hard to pinpoint what that amount will be right now because we really don't know for sure who the players are and how many people will shift and things like that. But we will keep you updated on that. The biggest concern right now for us is transitioning the people into the new system because, like I said, it will be very confusing for many of them. So with that, do you have any questions for either of us?
Have you gone out to the meal sites and explained this program to them already, or do you plan to?
We've been talking about it, and that's actually a really good idea that maybe you could go out and just reaffirm to everyone what's going on. We put a lot of articles in the newsletter, and we've been trying to talk one-on-one with people as they call. So.
Yeah, once they fill out that 4-page application, are they then in the computer, or do they have to go through this list of questions every time they call?
That's actually a call script, so they don't fill it out. They just get asked those questions as they call. What I understand is that the first time it will be more in depth, and then after that it might be shortened up to some degree. Is that right?
Yeah.
The call script has questions such as, do you own a car? Well, as you all know, some people who aren't currently driving anymore own a car, and they may say yes, even though they haven't driven for 9 years. And so we anticipate that some people will be denied service because of the way that they answer some of the questions. So we're hoping to work with some of those people one-on-one so that they truly understand that even though you own a car, if you haven't driven it for 9 years, you need to say that. So, yeah. Anything else?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Okay, that's the end of our presentations. Now we're going to have discussion and possible action on our 2012 budget guidelines. Open it up, Deb.
Well, I guess we need to have some ideas from you on what your expectations are as we start the 2012 budget process. Last year, for the 2011 budget, the guidelines basically were that Human Services, Highway, EMS, Sheriff's Department, Aging, and Public Health were restricted to keep their levy the same as it was the year before. So that was the guideline that you gave us last year. So I don't know if you've thought about this at all, if we're starting to get into that process. You actually would be able to delay this decision until next month, but that would be the latest that you'd be able to delay this because we start working on this stuff right away. So I don't know if I was hoping to have some dialogue on this, on what your expectations are. The governor is expected to sign the budget by the end of this month, and then we will be sure what our restrictions are. It looks like that debt retirement is exempt from the levy limit, library funding, and EMS. So those 3 areas are exempt from the levy limit. So you're able to, if that increases from one year to the next, you're able to absorb that into your levy without any penalties. The other thing that's on the table is that if you haven't used the full amount of the levy that was allowed to you in prior years, that you will have access to that. So that's also on the table. So we might have a little wiggle room there. The unknowns are always, what our health insurance rate's going to be for next year. We will probably not get some of those numbers till fall, so you don't always know that as you're doing your preparations. We will ballpark that. So we know some of the things we know if he signs the bill, that and if the budget repair bill gets published, like they say it's going to get published, when our contracts end, most of the folks are in general for retirement, and so they would be starting to pay 5.8% of the retirement starting next year. The non-union folks are probably going to be having to start paying that as soon as that bill is published. So, so anyway, any suggestions, any ideas? I'm hoping to hear from you folks and have you guys talk amongst yourselves to give us some guidelines. So I don't know, maybe what you're doing in your townships would be of some interest. I'd like to hear from you.
Any suggestions? Everett.
One thing that was discussed at Public Works and discussed at length was this Sunday hours. I see there's a note here about that as far as the dumps open and that. I know some of us have been getting phone calls. I just tell my people to blame me because I'm on that committee, and that's fine. We have to cut someplace, and I think the biggest thing is we just can't get nervous in the pack. This is something that it might not look like a lot, but it's one thing that we can do and we can suck up and we can live with. But I don't think we have to flinch every time we get a phone call. We have to talk to the people and explain to them why we're doing it, And the letter we had that Scott put out, I think, explains it as good as we possibly can. And And I know I'm making a big deal about nothing, but for some people, this is a big deal. But as far as I'm concerned, we just have to stick to our guns on some of these things where we can cut, where it affects the least number of people.
By the employees paying part of their retirement, because they have been paying part of their insurance premiums all along in this county, that's going to give us just a little wiggle room in every department. But also in that bill there, you're going to have it out before tax, and that'll save them a little money also. And non-union employees, apparently, when I was at a meeting today, they'll start taking it out the 1st of August, if the governor signs the bill at that way, unless he amends it or something.
Oh, in reference to what you were talking about, Everett, about the collection sites being closed today, I too have received a couple of calls, but I got very positive response when I explained the situation. They were very good with it. They could say, well, you know, you have to leave that land, close that one, just whatever. They didn't realize that there's more than one collection site in the county and all those kinds of things, and how those changes in the tipping fee and the recycling ideas and so on affect everyone. And so they've been very good about it.
I think we'll all, the entire board, which isn't that big anymore, will have to have the numbers in front of them that they can give them as far as who to call if they want to have private service, because from what I gather, it isn't that much, and it's the lake people that have more problems than the others because of the, you know, they're not here that long and they don't want it sitting for a week. So if a few of them want to get together and have a, you know, have a pickup, the way it sounds, some of them are very willing to go that route. So we'll get the numbers out to everybody here, and so that can be, when we do get the calls, we can refer them to those if we want.
Any other suggestions on the budget, or would you rather think about it and next month then we have to make a decision? If not, between the executive committee and finance, we have to make the decisions on ourselves, but we would like input from the board members.
Well, I think if you are going to restrict to a 0, if you're going to keep everybody at their 2010 levy, I think that's something that has to come from the board. That's a directive that has to come from you. You know, it shouldn't be coming from just one person. Last year came from the board, and I you know, we all have to be on the same page. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. So, whatever the directive is, it has to come from the board.
Tough part about that is, and there's some areas where there are some costs that we have no control over. For example, if a high-cost individual moved into the county that state says that we need to take care of, we don't have a big choice. And if you get 5 or 10 of these people moving at once, it's going to be tough. So it's hard to maintain 0 at all over, I'm thinking, with that in mind. So maybe there's some sort of a solution we can find for that type of a problem when it happens, outside of moving them to another county.
I guess I feel if we start making exceptions in one area, then we're going to be expected to make exceptions for all the departments. So I don't know if we can do that.
I know it's not an exception, but what happens then? You have to cut 15 people because 5 people moved into the county that are going to cost us millions of dollars.
Any more suggestions?
So you have to tell me something next meeting, though. You have to, okay?
Okay, we'll continue on then. We've got our 2010 final budget addendums. Motion on it.
I'll make a motion, we approve the addendums.
Okay, a motion by Donna Collada, do we have a second? Second by Everett Eckstein. Any discussion on them? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
Resolution number 21-611, acknowledgement of Trudy Tess's service to and retirement from Waushara County.
Need a motion?
I would move.
Motion by Fred Gallerup. Do I have a second? Second by Larry Crawford. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one's been approved.
Resolution number 22-6-11, resolution authorizing the addition of one workday of economic support work to the account clerk position currently being 4 days a week in the Department of Human Services.
We need a motion.
Motion to approve.
By Downey, a second
I
by,
would second.
second by Fred Gallerup. This will have to be a roll call vote because there's money involved.
Okay. Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Tim.
Yes.
Mr. Piaski.
Yes.
Mr. Wedding.
Aye.
Mr. Downey.
Here.
Mr. Eckstein.
Yes.
Mrs. Plata.
Yes.
Mr. Weiss.
Yes.
Mr. Gellerup.
Yes.
Mr. Crawford.
Okay, that has been approved.
Resolution 23-6-11, resolution approving additional project costs to be paid with proceeds of $15 million Public Finance Authority Fixed Rate Revenue Bonds, Series 2010A, Adams Columbia Electric Cooperative Project.
I move to approve Resolution 23-611.
By Dennis Weddy, second by Larry Crawford. We have a representative from Adams Columbia here. If there's any questions, he'd be glad to answer.
Would you like to explain it a little bit for the board?
This is the resolution we came to you last year with. We have to identify the projects involved. We've re-identified some projects that are higher priority. And then also there's projects that the law was changed to allow us to go back all the way to the 2008 June storm and use monies for those projects. So it's just to be tax exempt, we have to have everything approved. So that's why we come back to you. Same amount of money, same bond, it's just defining the projects and listing them specifically. So.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the resolution? Been approved.
Resolution 24-6-11, resolution authorizing reorganization of Sheriff's Office.
We need a motion.
I move to approve.
Motion by Dennis Weddy, second by Donna Collada. And now if there's any discussion, and Mr. Peterson, the sheriff, is here, he can maybe explain also. Any questions for Dave, or is there enough explanation there? Okay, hearing no questions, this is a roll call vote also.
Mr. Tim.
Aye.
Mr. Piaski.
Aye.
Mr. Weddy.
Aye.
Mr. Downey.
Aye.
Mr. Eckstein.
Aye.
Mrs. Plata.
Aye.
Mr. Weiss.
Aye.
Mr. Gellerup.
Aye.
Mr. Crawford.
Aye.
Mr. Kirschner.
Aye.
That's been approved.
Resolution 25-6-11, resolution approving the inclusion of Adams County to the Multi-County Aging and Disability Resource Center.
Okay, we have a motion. Motion by Larry Crawford. Do I have a second to the motion? Second by Everett Eckstein. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
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 Opposed? That's been approved.
Resolution 26-6-11, resolution awarding the sale of $7,250,000 general obligation promissory notes.
We need a motion to get it on the floor.
I'll move to approve Resolution 26-611.
Motion by Dennis Whitey, we have a second by Donna Colada. We have representatives here if we need any more explanation, but that we've been working on this for about a year now. And now it's coming to, we're gonna have to borrow the money. This resolution puts it in effect basically today.
I guess I would like Jeff to come forward and explain a little bit about the process of Standards and Poor and how that turned out. And
Well, thank you. I do say it's with a great deal of pride that I'm here tonight, having been able to represent this fine county in the municipal marketplace. This is some of the culmination of a lot of work that the chairman has referred to, and you guys have put a lot of time in over the last year. I've been fortunate enough to really get down to the grindstone and work with you since April. And in that process, as I said to you when I interviewed with the committee, we felt that we could go to Standard & Poor's and secure for you a first-time bond rating somewhere in the AA category. I certainly want to thank your staff. Deb has been super. Elaine, everyone we've worked with here. Truly to be proud of your corp counsel. You have excellent people, very, very professional. It was very evident in the conversations that we've had with people from Chicago and New York in terms of the rating process. For those of you who had a chance to take a look at the Global Credit Report, the county, as I said, first-time standalone rating at a AA-, something to be quite proud of. If you had a chance to peruse that, there are indications in there giving rationale for the strengths behind the AA rating, and you're all to be commended for that, not only this board, but for previous boards who have made the proper decisions, who are fiscally responsible. You've got great reserves, and there's some demographics, of course, that you as individuals have no control over that we benefit from being in Waushara County, but I think it's a result of historical governments putting you in the right place to have good housing values and good value per member of population. So congratulations. Now, the importance of a rating, you say, what does that mean? Every kind of pat on the back kind of thing, but the importance of that double rating puts you in a competitive field with other AA credits. You're not with the BAAs, you're not with the A's, you're not with the AA's. The difference in this particular market between one lower grade than what we received and where you are is probably close to 0.5%. Now that 0.5% on your particular issue would mean about $88,000. So in essence, by going through the process, by putting our best foot forward, as my mom used to say, and securing that AA-, saved us a considerable amount of money, allowed you to compete with the finest credits in the country that came to market. Now, I took the liberty, before the meeting started, to hand out a sales comparison sheet. This is something that I had referred to a number of times when we met with the executive committee, and Elaine and Deb and I spoke about this. I've got for you not only a compilation on the front page, but I've attached the Bloomberg sheets off of the wire service so that you can see that I'm not making any of this stuff up. What you see in that first page of sales comparisons, you'll see obviously our Waushara County issue, a AA-. Now, let me go back with ratings. You go from a AA- to a AA to a AA+, and then into the AAA. Now, in an ideal world, each one of those ratings would have a little bit lower, as you go up the scale, a little bit lower interest rate in the same market, assuming you're issuing general obligation debt, which all of these are. If you take a look at the other thing that's important for you to understand here when you're making a comparison, it's almost never easy to get exactly an apples-to-apples comparison here because not everybody's going to pay their debt payments on the same day. We've chosen, based on our timing here in Waushara, to pay them on 6/1. Now, if you look next to that Tomball, Texas, a GO, also a AA-, the same rating, they're paying theirs on 2/15. So that's almost 4 months earlier than us, all right? The reason I bring that up is if you went to the bank and got a 4-month CD, if I get a 1-month CD and you got a 5-month CD, you better get a little better rate of return on your 5-month because you got it out 4 months longer than me. Do you follow what I'm saying? So your rate ought to be a little bit higher than mine because you're out 4 months longer. Now with that in mind, take a look at that comparison. Came last week when we were marketing your debt. There were 215, we're a 6.1, but yeah, I didn't make a typo. That's 0.60. So we issued $600,000 of debt to pay back. That's what we said we're going to pay back next year of this $7,250,000. That's our principal payment to due on 6/1. We had buyers quote you tonight or yield to them of 0.60%. It's 40 basis points less than 1%. I wouldn't have bought it. I mean, it's a great rate for us as a county, but boy, you almost better to put it in the mattress. If you look in 2013, and I told you in terms of timing, you know, we did everything we could to prepare you and put you in the best possible light in a market that really, for us, came around perfectly. I've been doing this almost 31 years, and I've not seen a market like this. And a lot of you have probably been around almost as long as I have and seen the last 31 years of rates and finances and probably haven't seen a market like this. So when you go through the scale, and of course you can imagine if you're going to put it out for 2 years, you ought to expect a little higher rate of return, and that's a 0.8. 3 years at a 105. All the way out in our 10th maturity of a 2.93%. Anyone see that? And compare that to the AA minus next to you, which is 4 months shorter. We're actually a few basis points better in the long end. They get a 280 and 20. We get 295 versus our 277 and 293. Take a step over further to the right. You'll see another Parker Texas. I just noticed tonight, I realized so many Texas issues came last week. Purely coincidence. I didn't go looking at Texas issues. I just looked at AA's, and these came up. So here you got a 215. Now, a AA is a little stronger credit than a AA minus. 1 year paper, somebody's going to give them a 40 basis points, then a 70 versus our 80. But look on the long end. In 2019, where we're a 252, they're a 250, only 0.02% difference. We're actually 0.03% difference through them in 20, and we're 0.02 through them in 21. That saves you a lot more than that 10 basis points on the front end, or the 20, where they're a 40 and we're a 60 in 1 year. Those 3 basis points over 10 years against your maturity of $800,000 adds up a lot quicker, and it's every year. So that's really where you want to see the difference. Now, if you look at the others, you can go down. There actually was a Racine School District, Unified School District, AA3, which is a Moody's rating. Now, when you compare a Standard & Poor's AA minus, a AA3 is almost exactly the same, because they would go from a AA3, which is our AA minus. The next one up's a AA2, which would be a AA Standard & Poor, and theirs would be a AA1, which would be a AA plus Standard & Poor's. So basically that AA3 is exactly the same rating we got with Standard & Poor's. Now you can see the rates are a lot higher. One of the reasons is one of our competitors who you interviewed did them, and I said I'd try to find a comparable to show you. And that's more to prove to Deb that I didn't lie to her when I said some things. But in any case, also it's bank qualified, but it's pretty cheap, I think, for that issue. When you boil this down, and when we pay for you all of the fees, printing and distribution official statement, underwriting fees, the fee that I quoted you, which is, by the way, $6. I brought it down from where we went because you went up in terms of cost. So it came down, I think it was $1 or something, Deb. So I appreciate your faith in me, and I figured you should be rewarded for that. And when we pay all of those fees and you add everything into it, and people say, well, what kind of interest rate did you get? Here's the number you need to use. Your all-in cost, net effective interest rate expressed, or cost expressed in a rate, is 2.59%. Again, for this 10-year issue, $7,250,000. Over the life of those 10 years, when you take into account all of the costs, 2.59%. I remember in August when I addressed the board right after you, or the night you allowed me to go ahead, I said we'd be under a 3, I thought. I didn't think we'd be quite this far under a 3, but I'm certainly happy for you. It's a 259. I haven't had a 10-year issue of this size come in at a nick of that. So timing is great. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. You have a resolution before you, of course. You've brought it to the floor with a motion and a second. The vote tonight is to adopt or lock into these interest rates. No matter what happens in the market, once you lock into these, they're your rates and no one can change them on you. Now, I will also throw in the codicil that even though reinvestment rates aren't high right now and you're going to spend your money, you're going to get your money and you're not going to spend it all, so you're going to have some investment earnings. If you can earn $42,000 on this money through the life of your project, which I think should be pretty easy to do even at something under 1% or around 1%, you'll drop 0.1% off that 259 that I'm telling you about. So every $42,000 you earn, you're going to knock another 1/10 off your true cost of your money. So I gave you your gross cost, which will not change. The only way you can change that is a net cost by earning some interest money on this. So all in all, that's a pretty good deal for everyone. And I'm sure you found that with your bidding and on your contracts in this environment, you probably got a bigger bang for your buck than we would have, say, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Questions about the process or anything?
Fred, you had a question before?
Well, I guess my only question was, I don't know at all what the $7,250,000 is for, except I think for a variety of projects. I don't know anything more than that. Maybe I don't have to know.
Well, of course you do, Fred. It is radio communications equipment, tower equipment, remodeling of the work release center, the Spillman Records Management Project in the Sheriff's Department, a telephone system, a digital recording system. Boy, I know there's another one. The demolition of the South Annex and the SANS. It's a redundancy for our network. So I think those are the high points. Security system. There's a bunch of stuff in there, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Well, thanks, Jeff.
I really thank you. It's been a real pleasure. As I said, and I'll repeat myself, I've worked with a lot of counties in the state. It's an honor for me to have come to work with Waushara, and my work will continue with you. We'll do your continuing disclosure every year, which is a requirement, and we'll notify Deb, and if there are things and changes where you can take advantage of refinancings, although these are pretty low, there may be a point in the future when these are callable that we can save you some money again in the future, and we'll be the first ones to tell you about that. Those are ongoing services. You don't pay a fee for those kinds of things. But it is. It's been my pleasure to get to know Waushara County, at least through your financials and meeting with your staff and administration. A lot of things to be proud of in this county, and I really mean that. I work with a lot of counties throughout the state, and I like what I see here, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, this is roll call vote.
Mr. Piaski.
Yes.
Mr. Weddy.
Yes.
Mr. Downey.
Yes.
Mr. Eckstein. Mrs. Colada.
Yes.
Mr. Weiss.
Yes.
Mr. Gellerup.
Yes.
Mr. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Kirschner.
Yes.
Mr. Tim.
Yes.
Okay, that passed.
Resolution 27-6-11, a resolution repealing resolution number 49-8-83, County Trunk Highway Q, Town of Leon.
Need a motion?
Motion to
by Donna
approve.
Colada, second by Larry Crawford. Tom, you want to explain this to us, or?
Resolution kind of explains it pretty good, but it does say in here that the DOT recommends to eliminate right turn, no stop signs from all roads. That comes down from the federal recommendation. The feds are trying to eliminate these stops. It's not a requirement to eliminate them, it's a recommendation. We've had a couple of them that we've eliminated in the county already, but they did not have a resolution erecting that right turn, no stop. So because this one already had a resolution to erect it, we needed another one to take it down. Why this one was erected in 1983, was it political? Was there a crash history? Lieutenant Nett did a crash history at this intersection for us, and there isn't one or anything to speak of that has to do with the stop sign or the right turn, no stop. We have another intersection identical to this on the county system, on County H. We call it south of Bonneville Corners, for those who know where that is. Without this right turn, no stop, but it has the same configuration of intersections. There's no crash history on that one either. So we're just following the state and federal recommendation to start eliminating these. And this is the last one in the county, so we're just asking for that approval. Any questions?
Last one of what?
Right turn, no stop situations on the county system. This is the last one in the county.
Is there one in by Pine River on A or E rather? Go from the north.
That one might still be here. I don't remember.
One on Division Street.
Yeah, that's not on the county though. So
You have to look at that one. In Pine River.
yeah, that one might be still there. I just can't picture that one. But my sign man's the one who's brought these up, and the ones that don't have a resolution, we've just eliminated them. You know, we have that authority, but this one we can't because there was a resolution erecting the sign. So, but if there is one on E, you know, we'll have to take a look at that one too. But if there's no resolution erecting that, we can get rid of that one. And it saves a sign, and it saves maintenance, and, you know, that's a good thing.
Any other questions for Tom?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion on it? Otherwise, all in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's been approved.
Resolution number 28-6-11, resolution to repeal paragraph 24 of motion number 518 to the State of Wisconsin 2011-2013 budget bill.
Motion by Kirschner.
I would second that
Fred?
motion.
Any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
would Terry explain something to the board so they're
Okay? Be fine.
And I think the resolution is fairly self-explanatory. When the budget came out of joint finance, it had this paragraph in there that said that the local government authority couldn't follow up on failing systems until it actually crossed a property line of a property owned by another person, which was kind of shocking to most of us in the industry. The good news is that language has been taken out of the budget bill at this point, so the one sitting on the governor's desk doesn't have that in it. But I have talked to one of the lobbyists for the liquid waste carriers and the Wisconsin On-Site Wastewater Recycling Association, and he said there's some buzz down there that someone plans to reintroduce this as standalone legislation. So I would strongly encourage you to still approve this, and maybe even add something in the minutes that, of course, this means any language similar to this in the future, so we wouldn't have to redraft a resolution every time this comes up, wherever it's coming from. So, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
Would someone like to make an amendment saying exactly what Terry indicated to put in the minutes, that just in case some other similar language? What she said. You got that, Ellen?
Okay. That was a motion by Everett and a second by Fred. So the next time we won't have to go through it again. Okay. All in favor of the amended to the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved with the amendment.
Ordinance number 533, amending the Waushara County truancy ordinance.
I move to approve.
By Dennis, do we have a second? second by Larry Crawford. Any discussion?
The only change in there is changing it from age 6 to 18 to 5 to 18.
Okay, any other discussion on it? Fred?
That does not apply to the county board?
Okay, all in favor of the ordinance, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Now we've got some appointments. And Fred Gallerup and James Jarvis will be on the Human Service Board. Are there any?
Chairman,
We
I
need a
move
motion on
to
that?
approve the appointments of Fred Gellerup and James Jarvis to the Human Service Board for the term listed on the agenda.
Okay, we got a second by Everett Eckstein. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Is there any suggested future items? The one thing will be our budget recommendations next month. Come up with something for budget recommendations so we can start in on the 2012 budget. Motion adjourned by Everett. Do we have a second? Second by Larry Kim. All in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Has been approved. Signed and the Kirchner signed.
I got nervous.
I know, I got an email.